So today I'm thinking about science and the science of distance healing. So let me define science. Science is not test tubes and lab coats. Science is not government grants. Science is not peer-reviewed research studies. It's all that stuff. But the way I'm thinking about science is a method of inquiry that helps us in times where there's unsurety so that we can get past our biases. Okay? Because usually, like all the advances of, like they used to say that you can't fly, and now there's aviation engineers. They used to say all sorts of things. There's been some real solid advancements because of this attitude towards reality that we might have some assumptions that are wrong. And so I think so how does this apply to distance healing? Good morning, Candle and Greg and Deb. I think this attitude is a powerful attitude to have. It's not so much. The word skepticism to me means disbelief. So it's not that, but there's this awareness that however we perceive the world, there's probably a broader perspective. And there might even be way broader perspectives, like if somebody had a different point of view. So for example, what my dog sees is probably not as much as what I can see. But what my dog smells is way beyond what I can smell. So, you know, when I'm smelling something and she's smelling something, it's easy for me to say, you know, she's having a different experience of whatever it is that we're both smelling. So the same thing with distance healing. If we are having whatever experience we're having with the distance healing, or any healing, doesn't have to be distance, whatever we're aware of is probably a tiny part of what there is actually to be aware of, even given your current sensory apparatus or your current perceptual apparatus. And it seems to be that no matter where we hold our reality, there's a little bit of room for a little bit of growth. Maybe not leaps and bounds of room, but there's a little bit of room for growth so that we can expand on what we're able to understand or perceive or experience or receive or give in a new way. And sometimes this happens like lots of little tiny things that are almost subconscious, and then suddenly you get a big jump of like, oh, that's not true, that's true. And then you're able to do things that you weren't able to do when you were busy thinking that the other thing was true with your new awareness. So a lot of the way we look at I want to be healed of cancer versus it's impossible to be healed of cancer, at least not without chemo or radiation, is we actually do have this point of view that it's impossible. We have it embedded in our culture. We have it embedded in our psyche that that's the way things are. And what we want to do is go to a place, we don't like that. We don't like that reality. And at some level we think, what if it could work, that we could heal from cancer? What if it was actually true that just tweaking something and whew, the whole thing disappeared? To get from this place to that place, sometimes people do what's called a leap of faith. And sometimes that works for them. And they actually believe so hard that this is true that they find the way to do it. And the other way is to just try to hold this contradiction all the time of this is what's actually true, but this is what I want to be true. So I'm going to focus on that, but this is what's actually true. So if you're a scientist, meaning you know that you have perceptual biases and you want to screen for them, you want to question your versions, like, because you know there's spontaneous remissions. So just from your own observation, people spontaneously remit. They get better from cancer for no good reason, it seems. So it's possible, but is it possible for you? I think a way to work with this is to be very clear that I want to be over there. Can I get there? I don't know. I don't know what the constraints are. I really don't. Do I think it's possible for it to be done? Well, I've heard reports that it's been done. So is it possible for me? I'd like it to be possible for me. But you have to start from where you're at and then be very clear that you're open to discovering how to get to the cancer cure over here. But also be very open to the idea that you don't know how to do that, unless you do. And if you do, please tell me. So the way I help myself with this, and I've thought a lot about it, is I try to be very clear about where I want to go, but then I want to just observe where I am in a non-judgmental way. I want to gather the data. I want to just sense, and I can gather spiritual data, I can gather emotional data, I can gather sensations in my body data, I can gather reports and scans and photos of lumps and bumps on my body. So there's many forms of data that we can gather. And if we have this picture of it might be possible to get a cancer cure, you are going to sift through the data in a very different way than if you're pretty sure that that doesn't exist. All right? So this hoping that this is possible allows us to sift through the data and notice the nuances of how to progress. And in my experience, it's the tiniest. It's not what we don't know that gets us in the way. It's what we do know that isn't so. It's these assumptions. It's this inherent bias. So a little humility is involved here, or a lot of humility. You just say, I don't know. I really don't know if this will work. Doing this distance healing session will work. This is what I'm observing. A feeling of peace comes over me. My tumor cools down. I get a brilliant idea about how to organize my supplements in a better way. I like it. Or I don't like it, and it just is a big waste of time, or whatever. You notice whatever you notice, right? And that allows you to grow it like a plant, and it grows towards there. And that feels to me like a very honest. If you're not judging your current experience as right or wrong or good or bad, it's just data. It's just what is. And you're clear where you want to go. Then if you can love the truth, if you can really love this current puzzle that you're in, I think that love helps you notice things that you wouldn't notice otherwise. We have to really, really, really not just love the idea that we can get better, we can have a spontaneous remission, but we can also love every little thing about our current reality, even if it's uncomfortable and scary. And I think that's the way to bridge that gap. It's through really being present, lovingly present as much as possible, even lovingly present with anger and rage, and it's the same thing, I guess, and fear and terror, which is the same thing, sadness and grief and all that. You can be lovingly attentive and present with all that. Lovingly present with, oh, my tumor just cooled down. Oh, I just sat up and breathed differently. Oh, I actually do feel like I'm in the same room with other people. I actually feel very connected to them. Isn't that interesting? And then you can put love into that awareness. Because I think that when we treat our data like objects so that we're objective, that's good, that's a start. But if we can love the truth speaks to us. It speaks back. It guides us. We get ideas. We get guidance. Like, truth isn't dead. Nothing's dead. It's all consciousness, if you ask me. That's my point of view.